And here it comes. Hi, everybody. This is Margaret Hershey at Home with Hershey's. And thank you for joining us for our Motivational Monday this morning. We are ready for anything this coming week, and we hope you are too. So I've always said, you know, your body is a vessel, and what you put into that vessel is exactly how you're going to turn out. If you put the wrong things in, everything turns out wrong. If you put the right things in, everything turns out right. And as a lot of you know, I've been a vegetarian my whole life and vegan for the past 4 years, and it really has changed my life. And when I look at my friends who are getting older and more decrepit, at 72, I'm still working a 20-hour day. I'm still doing my degree. I still have energy, and I'm really battling to keep up with my 14-year-old, but I'm managing the 12-year-old. And I want to tell you, I'm here in Disney at the moment, and having a 14-year-old should be compulsory, because wherever you go, you're scanning QR codes, and I mean, everything is just so automated, it's ridiculous. But anyway, we are here today, and we have got Stacey and Jess, who are hosting with me. Thank you so much. And we've got our fantastic guest, Damien, who's back by popular demand. And today we're talking about veganism, which is very close to my heart, eating plant-based diets, and also yoga and exercise, and how everything is interlinked. And everything is interlinked. You can't just be doing yoga and eating rubbish. You can't eat rubbish and not do any exercise. It doesn't work like that. Everything is interlinked. It's all holistically joined. So Stacey and Jess, welcome. And Stacey, you're going to introduce Damien to us.
Yes, wonderful. Thank you so much, Margaret. And I love that you talk about everything being interlinked, because you couldn't be more right. Everything is interlinked, and that is what Connectable Life is all about. So thank you. Damien, thank you so much for joining us. And like Margaret said, back by popular demand. Damien is a holistic health coach and yoga teacher, and has been involved in the health and wellness industry for the past few years. His experience includes teaching yoga and fitness classes, teaching mindfulness and yoga at an addiction rehab center, and running local and international yoga and adventure retreats with his wife. Damien also has experience in nutrition, meal plans, cooking for events, and meal prepping for clients. More recently, he graduated from IIN to become an integrative nutrition health coach. Damien finds the most joy in helping people. He's gifted by connecting with people in a way that makes them feel safe and comfortable. So thank you so much, Damien, for joining us, and on to you.
Thanks, Stacey, for that lovely introduction, and hi to everyone that's watching this. So, as Margaret said, we're going to be talking about veganism today, plant-based eating, as well as exercise and movement. So to kind of start off and just open up, I would like to just get into my vegan story. So what brought me to veganism? And I'm on the other side of the coin to Margaret. I wasn't vegetarian. I went straight from carnivore, eating meat, to becoming plant-based and being vegan. When I met my now wife, Lauren, 6-7 years ago, she was vegetarian, and I was still in the house cooking my meat, and that didn't feel quite right for me. So quite soon after staying together, I started to become vegan. No in between, no vegetarian, no baby steps. I dropped meat, dairy, cheese, everything completely, and went cold turkey, if you could put it like that, becoming vegan. And the rest is history. At first, there's lots of sides to being vegan. There's the ethical reasons, there's health reasons. For me, it was, I have always been into training and exercise, so I wanted to see if I could be fit, healthy, while becoming vegan, or while living a vegan lifestyle. So that's exactly what I went and did. I started researching it, and I went all in. And honestly, the rest is history. I've never felt better living this way, and I felt like I've had more energy. My training has been probably better than it has ever been, and my recovery, which is huge when you are doing a lot of training, that your recovery time is less or reduced. So yeah, that's kind of my introduction to how I went vegan. There are other methods that work as well, which maybe we can chat about in a bit.
Okay, well, that's amazing. And I think it's just so important. And I think more and more people who are caring for their bodies realize that by putting meat into it, there's just so much hormones and rubbish that goes into the meat today. It's not like it's fresh organic meat. Even organic meat's not organic. Sorry. I mean, so tell us about what you eat and how you prepare it.
Sure. So for the most part, I eat a whole food plant-based diet. I don't mind the odd mock meat, like a vegan boerewors or a nugget every once in a while. For me, they serve a purpose, which I said there was other ways of going vegan. That's another purpose that could be used to kind of help introduce people into becoming vegan, so that it's a bit closer to home than what they're used to. So I don't mind those products. So I'll eat some of that every once in a while, but predominantly whole food, plant-based. And my favorite kind of things to eat are a stir fry, which is really simple and easy. I love a good soup as well. And it's I have a 3-year-old, so trying to eat vegan and get her to eat all of the things that I eat and my wife eats was tricky in the beginning, but now she eats everything that we eat. She doesn't complain or fuss about anything. It's actually quite amazing the group of foods that she eats. So yeah, soups, stir fries, and a really good one for people who are maybe wanting to try a vegan meal is a sheet pan roast. So you'll chop up your favorite vegetables, throw it on a pan, pop on the oven, chop up some tofu, put that in, season it, and then roast it at 180 for 30 to 40 minutes. And that's also a really great kind of meal to start off with, just to start getting used to not having meat with every meal.
I think it's just, we've been brought up this certain way that in our house, we had meat every day. So it was mince on Monday, chicken on Tuesday, chops on Wednesday, fish on Friday, and that was a roast on Sunday. That was our meal. And that's what we were used to. And we were used to doing that. But then as eating changed and as your body changes and as the food changes, you've got to change with it. And that's what I think is veganism. But now you say, you with fitness and health and eating right and that type of thing, it's all interconnected. Talk to us about the interconnectedness of this and also your yoga, because as you know, Glenda and I are into yoga. And it's made a huge difference in my life. It's much more supple. I look at my friends shuffling along. They can't keep up with me when I walk, and I just think to myself, oh my gosh, thank goodness I do yoga. Thank goodness I do exercise. But thank goodness also that I eat the right things. And it's all interconnected, because if you eat rubbish, the next day you feel, oh God, you're slothful. And I know my husband from time to time just says, you're going to have a big steak. And the next morning he says, oh my God, this feels like a rock in my stomach,
Yeah.
Talk to us about the interconnectedness of eating and exercise.
Sure. So I will get into the interconnectedness of the eating and the exercise. I think it's interesting that you mentioned yoga with that as well, because for me, being a yoga teacher, learning about the philosophy, one of the first 8 limbs is ahimsa, which is non-violence. So if I'm going to be a yoga teacher and preach certain ethics and ways of life, because there's more to yoga as well than just movement or doing certain postures, the veganism goes hand in hand with that, in my opinion. Like I said, one of those 8 limbs, the way that you try and live your life, is non-violence. If I'm not mistaken, it's the first one. So non-violence to other animals, to myself, etc. So that's the connection there between the yoga and the eating. I feel like those two go hand in hand. When it comes to the other side of just other forms of movement, you got to fuel your body right to be able to exercise. I mean, what you're putting in is what your body is going to put out. Think of it like your body as a car, right? If you have a petrol car, you put diesel in, the car is going to break down, essentially. So your body is the same thing. You need to fuel it right so that it can put out the right kind of energy to be able to exercise and to do that sustainably. Like I mentioned briefly, eating right really kind of helps reduce inflammation in your body with the vegan diet. So meat, dairy can be highly inflammatory. So if you're training a lot, it can cause your body to not repair itself as quickly as it can eating a vegan and plant-based diet. So that's kind of one of the main takeaways there is that inflammation is not good for your body, and that's caused by dairy and by meat. And if you can reduce that, even if you don't want to go completely vegan, that's fine, but try and reduce it by starting a vegan meal once a week, and then trying to maybe do that twice a week for a while, and see how your body starts to adapt to that and feel if you are doing a good amount of training. Some of the other things that it can help with is having a healthy heart, right? So if you're training and exercising, you need a strong heart to be able to move blood through the body, right? And if you are eating meat, it has cholesterol in it and saturated fat, which clogs your arteries. So your blood isn't flowing as freely as it can through the whole body. So that's important. Again, like I said, when you're training, that's what helps your muscles repair and stay healthy and strong. So trying to reduce the cholesterol and the saturated fat in your body is really, really important for a healthy heart, but also so the blood flows easier through the body.
Sorry, Sandy saying, please can you send us a weekly vegan meal plan? I put a daily vegan meal out every single day, Sandy. And as you know, I've got my vegan cookbook. And I think it's important to know that you can eat a really tasty, flavorful meal 3 times a day if you're eating vegan. A lot of people think, oh, I'm just going to eat, a whole plate of vegetables. It's not like that at all. And, I use Camilla spices to spice everything up. She sent me some fantastic spices. And, so, you can make it really, really tasty, but we do send it out all the time. And I'm just reading all the other messages here. Vegan diets tend to be rich in nutrients and low in saturated fats. And also, I cook a lot with one of the girls in Centurion, and she just cooks healthy all the time. And she'll tell you, onions will take out all this and this inflammation out of your body. And I think a lot of people don't realize that what they're eating is inflaming their body. And I just want to say, when my mother became diabetic when she was really old, I managed by diet to change her from being diabetic to being non-diabetic. And she's 97 years old now. She's hale and hearty. She walks every day. And it's just through eating properly. It's so important that you can actually cure illness by eating correctly.
Yeah, 100%. And I've just got 1 or 2 more points to make with the exercise, and then we can look at those, more of the general health benefits. So like you said, helping your mother with diabetes. So let me just finish these last 2 points, and then we can change gears a bit and look at just general overall health benefits of eating a vegan diet. So when it comes to training, a vegan diet obviously, well, not obviously, but it can aid fat loss, right? Because you're not getting that extra saturated fat, and you're eating a good amount of fiber, which is something that's lacking in a lot of people's diets, is adequate fiber, which obviously keeps you regular and helps the body absorb specific nutrients. So reduced body composition, lower body fat is going to help you feel lighter and more energetic, which is, of course, it makes sense. It's going to help you train better. If you're feeling lighter, stronger, more energetic, then that's going to impact your training. And then one kind of last point there, touching base on the previous point I just made, is that by eating a vegan diet, you're going to be eating a vast array of nutrients, which is going to give you the right vitamins, minerals your body needs to have that balanced energy throughout the day. And if you're eating a well-balanced vegan diet, you're going to be getting the right amounts of protein, carbs, and healthy fats. So you're not going to have an imbalance there of excessive protein, which then you're not getting adequate carbs, which is your main source of fuel for your body, which is, there's kind of been a big push lately for
Oh, you disappeared there, Damien. I know you hit the
sorry, I had it. Trying to cancel it. Sorry about that. So as I was saying, there's been a big push for more protein than anything else. which is not right in my opinion. You want to kind of balance those evenly. If you're doing excessive training, maybe a little bit more protein's better to obviously fuel your muscles and help them build and grow, if that is your goal. But rather balance out your protein, your carbs, and your healthy fats, and you'll find a huge difference there in your energy levels with your training. So that's kind of the main points that I would look there with benefits of vegan nutrition for exercise.
Now, talk to us about supplements, because, you know, people think that you're going to go onto a plant-based diet and you're going to have to gobble masses of supplements. Now, I don't take any pills. I hate pills. Never take pills if I can possibly help it. And, you know, people say to me, you're going to have to take all these supplements. And I thought, oh, I really don't think so. I don't like it. I started taking Herbalife, and somebody said to me, you know, have Herbalife because that gives you everything. And I do like a shake. So I do have Herbalife in a shake from time to time. If I don't have time for breakfast, I'll have a Herbalife shake. But what other supplements should people look at, or like me, I don't have any supplements, and I'm just
yeah. So for some people, obviously, we digest certain vitamins, minerals at different rates. Not everyone's exactly the same. So I do take supplements, and I recommend them to my clients as well if they are transitioning to a vegan diet, because there is a really huge population that is deficient in quite a lot of vitamins and minerals. So my kind of top 5 that I would look at if you were a vegan were B12, and B12 helps your nerves function correctly in the body, and it is a really important vitamin to get in because your body can't produce it, so you need to get it from an external source. So if you are a meat eater, you are getting it from the meat, but where does the cow get it from, or whatever the source, the animal source is? They're getting it from the ground. So that's exactly where the vegan source comes from. So you're taking that middleman out of the equation, and you're going to take B12 supplements. You get 2 different types. I'm not going to dive too deeply into that. For me,
but you can just go to Discount and get a B12 injection, 65 Rand, and you're done for 3 months.
Exactly. So that's if you don't want to take a tablet, that's a perfectly fine route to go. But yeah, two different sources of B12. For me, they are both sufficient and fine. I would just look to take one of those, not even every day, every second or third day. Just start to supplement it. The thing with B12 is that your body stores it really well. So for you to become deficient in it, it's going to take a long time. It's not going to happen overnight. So don't panic if you are hearing that, oh, I need to start supplementing B12. Just get yourself a bottle of it, or go for the injection, and you'll be perfectly fine with the B12. The next is D3. D3 can be absorbed from the sun, but most of us, unfortunately, spend most of our lives indoors nowadays because work kind of requires that. So we don't spend adequate time in the sun. And for your body to actually absorb it properly, you want to be pretty starkers if you are out in the sun for about, for about 30 minutes. For about 30 minutes. And then you also shouldn't go and swim or shower straight afterwards, because it essentially sits on top of your skin and then is absorbed. So if you do that, you are washing some of it off. So a supplement, a little pill that you could pop under your tongue, is probably the best route to go. And there are certain vegan brands that do it. So I would look at supplementing that. And then the next is omega-3, which is another really important one for myself, especially if you are training, because it helps to reduce inflammation, which I've said is a really top kind of point to remember. So like with B12, where the cow is the middleman getting it from the ground, with omega-3, the fish is the middleman. They eat algae, or they absorb the algae, etc. So you are taking the fish out of the equation, and now you are going straight to the source and taking a vegan omega-3, which is from algae. Which is another one of my top kind of supplements. The next 2, I'm not going to touch base on too long, is a really good multivitamin, just to kind of cover your bases there. And then sodium. So if you're exercising a lot, you are sweating a lot, which means you are releasing your electrolytes, your sodium from the body. So you want to try and get some kind of sodium supplements, just kind of cover your bases there to make sure the body is functioning adequately as well. So those are my kind of top 5 supplements.
Fantastic. Now, talk to us about exercising. I know we all love to go. I love to go for a walk. I think walking is really, really good. How far should a person walk? Because I've noticed here in the States, they don't walk very far. They walk from here to the corner and back. They put all their gear on, walk from here to the corner and back, and go and sit and have a coffee. So, you know, how far should
jump
a
to their
person
little
walk?
electric wheelchair and drive around?
Yeah. Oh, Glenda says swimming. Yes, Glenda and I are both swimmers. We love swimming. And to me, swimming is a release. I can meditate while I swim. I love swimming. To me, it's the absolute best thing. I prefer it. I don't like women jogging because I just find, you know, especially when you get to my age, everything's going south anyway. So you just don't want to jog it down even further. So
Sure.
I find swimming is much better. You know, just it tones everything up rather than making it go downhill. What are your thoughts about women jogging?
So with walking and with jogging, you mentioned the walking. First, I would look, and I've advised clients on this in the past, is try and aim for, if walking is something you don't do very often, start off with 6,000 steps a day. Do that for a week or 2, then try and increase that by 1,000 steps. So try and go up to 7,000, then try and go up to 8,000. So every week or 2 weeks, you're going to try and increase it in increments of 1,000 if you can, till you kind of reach that 10,000 sweet spot. And there's been vast studies on this, that 10,000 is that kind of sweet spot to maintain like a healthy physique, a good amount of fat loss, and then it's still not high impact enough to damage your joints in the body or to give you knee problems, ankle problems, etc. So I'm a big fan of walking. When it comes to jogging, I say you're either a runner or you're not. There's no really in between that gray area. So I think jogging is perfectly okay as well. And if you enjoy it, then kudos to you. Then do that. It is a great form of exercise. Our bodies are meant to move in that way. So there's nothing wrong with doing a light jog. I wouldn't go, if you have not been a runner, going to go enter a 21K race straight away. Build up to that. Just like I said, with your steps increasing, do the same thing with your running. Start off with 2Ks, then 3, then 4, until you find your sweet spot there.
Okay, now let's talk about yoga. And I mean, I got it, you know, it's quite intimidating if you've never done yoga. And I was just so grateful to Glenda who got me into it, where we do it one-on-one, because I could not have gone into a yoga class where everybody can twist themselves like a pretzel. And I, you know, at that stage I was quite stiff and I couldn't move that much. I'm much better now. But for the people out there who want to join a yoga class but too embarrassed to go, and everybody else is twisting themselves up and doing these amazing things, standing on their heads, and then you come along and oh my goodness, it is not working. What do you suggest to start yoga?
Sure. So if you're starting out, there is more than enough resources online. If you are someone that is really not into going to a group kind of class, or maybe you have a bit of fear around that because you feel they're going to be too advanced for you, whatever it may be, whatever your reasons are, that's okay. Look online. There's more than enough resources out there to do something in the comfort of your own home. Next option would be, if it is something that you are you can afford, you can look to get like a personal trainer, but a yoga teacher, right? So someone that teaches yoga in a private capacity to come to your home. Maybe you'd be more comfortable inviting this. Yes. Yeah.
Sorry.
Margaret?
You can do it online. Glenda and I do ours online.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's in Bonito and we do it online and it's working. Yeah.
Yes, so the online route was something I took it during the peak of COVID. I had to take all of my classes online, so I had all of my clientele doing it that way as well. So yeah, you could do it online with a yoga teacher, or find your own resources. Now that COVID's over, if you're comfortable bringing someone into your home, that's also another option. Maybe get a friend or a family member to do it with you. and start off there. One of the first, well, not one of the first things, but something you'll learn in yoga is to kind of drop the ego, right? So don't go into a yoga class expecting to be able to do headstands and contort yourself into all of these pretzel-like shapes. That's not what yoga is about. Yes, those things are fun to do and they might look aesthetically great, but that's not what yoga is about. There's more to yoga than just that. So try and lose that ego, that conception that you need to be able to do all of those things to be good at yoga, because that's not it. If that's what you think, you're missing the point.
Now, so to people who sort of want to start out, now they're quite keen to get into the veganism, they're going to start slowly, they're going to start exercising slowly, they're going to start, join a yoga class, just do something like that, which is very social as well, so it's very nice.
Yeah.
What's the next step?
Sorry, what's the next step?
What's the next step when you now eating a plant-based diet, you're doing a little bit of exercise, you're doing a little bit of yoga, what's the next step to take you to feel really, really good?
Ooh, I don't know. I mean, that could differ from person to person, right? So at the beginning of this, you said you had someone kind of requesting something about sleep. So, I mean, that could be one of the facets that you need to look at, like sleep. Another aspect to look at is, are you doing some kind of meditation practice to kind of, we live such a fast-paced life nowadays that we're always rushing around from meeting with friends and people to see and studying. So some kind of meditation practice just to slow down, like gather yourself, is also really important to kind of start to pull all of those pieces together. So I would look at doing something like that, some kind of mindfulness practice, whether that be going for a walk in nature or sitting by yourself and meditating. Maybe it's using a headset and popping a meditation on. That would be a good step. And then looking at your sleep, because sleep is when our body kind of finds homeostasis again and balances itself, and our hormones do a whole lot of work. So it's a really important aspect to look at as well. Yeah.
Okay, fantastic. Well, next week we talk. Oh, I'm muted. No, I'm not muted. Next week we're talking about sleep, so we're going to go into that. But it's always a bone of contention because I don't sleep, and yeah, people, my friends said, "Come and stay with me." I said, "I could never stay with you because I'm up from 4 o'clock in the morning till midnight, and I would drive you crazy." But Stacey, come on and tell us now. You've got 4 children. Could you ever think about going onto a plant-based diet, or you just need chicken and fish? They just need it, or you just.
Exactly, but to back up ever so slightly, when you were talking about, if somebody's eating well and they're exercising and they're still not feeling their best self, what would the next recommendation be? And to add to what Damien was saying, I would see someone. I would book with a wellness coach, and I would go and I'd put all the cards on the table. I'd say, this is what I'm doing. And this has actually been something that's been quite big in my life. I've always sought advice because, we're not experts in everything, and we can look up the information online, but it's not going to be necessarily relevant for our lives. So seeing a professional like Damien, sitting in front of him and putting out the cards and saying, this is what I'm doing, where can I improve, how can I just grow my energy, he would be the best one to advise us in this area, because there are so many things. Are we handling our stress well? Are we sleeping? Are we actually eating correctly for our body? And having somebody in the know will definitely help. Yeah. But to put it, okay, so I'm very interested. I'm loving that we are talking about veganism, because it's always been a topic that I'm quite scared of. Because I come from an old-fashioned Zululand family that has meat pretty much 3 times a day, and we're definitely moving away from that. But when I produce a meat-free meal, even my sons are like, where's the meat? This isn't dinner, this isn't food, come on, where's the meat? So it's definitely something that I am interested in, and I love hearing about how exercise potentially is better when you are cutting the meat out. And because there's so many different schools of thought, and my school of thought is that meat isn't potentially always the best option because it is heavy in our bodies, and we are, it is produced in a manner that is not what it was 40 or 50 years ago. We are now absorbing all of these hormones and GMO foods that we don't want to be putting into our bodies. I know for us, very often we eat local. So, I mean, we'll often slaughter a cow on the farm and eat from that, but most people don't have that option. So if you are able to go into a more vegan or vegetarian friendly environment, I definitely think that is more sustainable. Not all of us are doing it, but I do think it is more sustainable.
Yeah, I had to laugh because I had friends over for dinner the other night, and I produced a pasta dish, which was very nice, very tasty. And then they sort of expected another dish with meat in it to come afterwards. And it wasn't one. That was it, Jess, now you've got little children, and, you try and get them to eat. And I know a lot of children are eaters, and a lot of children don't want to eat anything. My little grandsons are really fussy. How do you get them to eat the right things? And you just keep putting the right things in front of them, or you can't desperate, look, just have some of this, because you need some food in your body.
I think that's the $1 million question, Margaret. With my kids, it's how do you get them to eat anything, let alone the correct diet or the right diet. But funnily enough, both of them, my kids don't eat meat, and it's just from choice. The only bit of meat they'll eat is like a little bit of chopped up boerewors, or but try get and chicken strips, but that's about it. So yeah, Damien, I actually have two questions for you, if that's okay. The first one is the sort of like buzz term at the moment is plant-based diet rather than veganism. Is there a difference between veganism and plant-based diet? Because I think like on your socials, there's a lot of this like plant-based diet being used rather than veganism. And then the second one is to touch a little bit on what Stacey was saying as well, is that obviously there's an argument for everything out there. And one of the arguments is that it's not the cow, it's the how. So not the actual meat, and obviously outside of ethical reasons, talking about health reasons in particular. It's not necessarily the beef you're eating, but it's how the beef has been raised, and also how you're cooking it, and what sort of process has gone into from the cow being a cow to on your plate. Is it a processed chicken nugget, or is it a fresh chicken breast, for example? So what's your stand from a health perspective in terms of it's not the cow, it's the how?
It's not the cow. Do you mind just elaborating a bit more there, Jess?
So in other words, it's not the fact that we're eating meat that's a problem. There's no detrimental health problems in terms of actually eating meat. Yeah. It's how the meat is raised, and therefore the hormones injected and whatever it is. So if you were like Stacey says, if you were to raise your own cow, slaughter it and eat it outside of ethical reasons, obviously, what's your perspective on that? The actual health benefits of meat or no meat, if it's been raised correctly.
Yeah. So yeah, I thought that was interesting what Stacey had said about raising her cattle and then slaughtering it on the farm, because from the start, I've never been one of those judgy vegans. Like, you do get them that are like, oh, you eat meat, I can't associate with you, I'm going to like turn my nose up, etc. I've never been one of those people. I've always said that if you raise your own cattle and it's your farm and you know how they're raised and you slaughter them, your way of doing it, and you then eat from that meat, in my opinion, that's okay. That's sustainable, in my opinion. And you know what's happening there and all of that. So that's okay. And if that's what works for your family, then that's okay as well, right? Because we each are individuals. We all require slightly different things. And if that's the way you choose to live your life and that works for you and your family, then that's okay. Then I'm at peace with that. So does that answer your question with your second question about it?
Yeah. But in terms of health, like to the body, it's good.
Yeah. There's especially if you know that it's not being pumped full of hormones and steroids and antibiotics, and then you eating that. And because if that is the case, if that is happening, you ingesting that, and that's going into your body, and that's going to impact you in some way or another down the line. So if you can reduce that, sure. And it's also not necessary to eat meat at all. But if you can reduce it to a few times a week rather than every single meal, then you are going to benefit from that as well in the long run, because less saturated fat, less heavy on your digestive system. If we look at how the human body is designed, we have longer intestines rather than like a carnivore, like a dog, where they have shorter intestines where it can just pass through them a lot quicker. When we eat meat, it takes a long time to travel through our bodies. So it kind of sits, and it doesn't go down the greatest. Margaret?
It rots in your insides. It does.
Yeah,
really.
I didn't want you to say that word, but yes, essentially that is what happens. It rots inside you. And it's not the greatest thing for our bodies to try and deal with, trying to break down animal protein. So yeah, I'm okay with it if you choose to do it, but in terms of health, it's still probably not the greatest for you to do that. No, if you can reduce it, I would look at reducing it down.
Yeah.
And then with your first question about the plant-based opposed to veganism or versus veganism, the same thing. Whereas veganism, I think, encompasses everything about it. So the ethical reasons, the health reasons. When you talk about plant-based, I think it's referring to just the diet side of it, but it's also a lot more approachable. It doesn't carry some of the negative stigma or connotations that veganism has, that like the vegans are judgmental and they turn their nose up to other people, etc. So that's how I look at those two words or labels that a plant-based or vegan diet has. Yeah.
No, I think now I want to talk about these the foods that are made. There's a lot of people making plant-based foods that look like chicken, that look like beef, that look like sausages and things like that. Personally, I don't want to eat anything that resembles a sausage. To me, a sausage is the most disgusting thing, because I've seen what they put into sausages usually, and ordinarily like to eat a sausage, even if it's made from plant-based stuff. So I just like the fresh vegetables. To me, if it's fresh and it's alive, that's what I want to eat. I don't want to eat anything that's processed and been dead for ages. That's not my food. So I think the fresher, the better. Talk to us about fresh food, fresh vegetables, because a lot of them, and one of the big stores where a lot of people buy their food, which we can't name, irradiate their food. And I've seen that, the bananas being irradiated so that they last forever, and I know that I make bread in a bread maker, and the next day it's stale, because that's how long bread lasts if it's fresh. And they put all these things into the bread to make it last longer, so it's got a longer shelf life and a longer life in your house. What do you think about that? I mean, so I want to go to, I think, if you're going to go a plant-based diet, you've got to make your own bread in the bread maker. You can't go and buy some bread that's been on the shelf for 2 weeks already and that you're eating. Talk to us about that type of thing.
Sure. So I think if you can, Margaret, eating a whole food plant-based diet is, in the perfect world, it would be good. But unfortunately, some people don't have the finances to make their own bread and even afford a bread maker every day. So for them, maybe buying that loaf of bread is okay, but then what are you putting on that bread? You know what I mean? Can you make healthier choices that are going on that bread? Can you use like your own lettuce that you grow in your own little garden? Or can you buy some rockets, etc.? And instead of putting that fake, putting on the meat or the processed meats like salami and your hams and all of that, which, by the way, are labeled as a carcinogenic food. So they're actually cancer causing. They have been given that from the health organization. They are known to do that. Instead of using that, can you just throw on some hummus that you've made yourself? And then, like I said, some rockets and squeeze some lemon over it. And there you go. You have a delicious sandwich to go with that. So I think trying to clean up and use less processed things is what every diet could. I think we can all agree on that, whether you're paleo, vegan or not. if you can cut out the processed things, sodas, all the processed baddies, you will see health improvements regardless of what lifestyle you are choosing to live in terms of what you're eating. I think we can all agree on that. So yeah, when it comes to that, I would definitely look at cutting out those things and eating more natural, more clean, vegetables, fruits.
We don't understand how sort of natural we eat in South Africa, because I'm in America now, and I see them putting Coke into babies' bottles, and they just want to die. You want to say, "Oh my God, what are you thinking?" But this is how the children are being brought up. They get these bright blue slush puppies that they're drinking down, and you just think, "Oh my goodness, what is that doing to your inside?" To parents, I think you've got to bring your children up to eat properly, and then they'll continue to eat properly as adults.
Yes.
What do you say to parents who now say, "But my child won't eat anything. I'm just happy. I'll just give them anything if they'll eat it. If they won't, I'll just give them Coke in the bottle, and I'll give them, a hamburger because that's what they eat." To me, it's so against the grain, but I see it happening, and I want to shout to them and say, "Don't do this," but they just do it anyway.
Cool. Yeah, that's a tough one. You're putting me in the spot because I don't agree with it either, but I'm not in that parent's shoes, so I don't know exactly what they're going through. But maybe, I don't know, I don't want to sound critical or anything like that, but if the parent could maybe just experiment a bit more and try a little bit harder to find what the kid actually likes and enjoys, that's healthy, there has to be something, whether it be some fruit or some hummus. What I find helps with my 3-year-old is getting them involved in the process of making food. That really helps because they see it excites them. They like to know what's going on, and they like learning about new things. And if you can do that, they'll tend to want to try it and taste it. Another interesting point there on taste is that if kids and even us as grown-ups are used to eating a specific way, if you try something new, it might taste terrible in the beginning because your taste buds are used to eating a specific thing. Your taste buds are regenerated every 2 weeks, I think it is. Yeah. So within that 2-week kind of time frame, if you can eat that same thing that you didn't like a few more times, your taste buds are going to start to adjust to that taste, which means you should start to like it. There might be certain things that you just can't stomach, but you should get used to the taste and actually become used to it. So if you've given your child something new, they didn't like it the first time, don't give up. Don't give up. Keep trying to give it to them in little bits, and they should, in theory, start to get used to it.
Now let's talk about my all-time favorite subject, which is sugar. To me, sugar is absolute poison. And my brother-in-law, who's a neurosurgeon, said you have 2 poisons in the kitchen: salt and sugar. They should not be put into food at all. So I know you were saying now you've got to take some salt because your body's giving off the sodium. But talk to us first about sugar. I mean, sugar to me is so carcinogenic, it's just ridiculous. But what do you do with kids? Give them a sweet. And to me, that's probably the worst thing you can do with them, but we still do it to this day.
Yeah, sugar. So in terms of a training aspect and exercise, because that is kind of the main point of what we were talking about today, it's not the worst thing because it's a source that can be used for energy and you're going to burn it off. But in terms of just a health perspective, if you're not really doing that much exercise, probably not the greatest thing because, again, it causes inflammation, it causes your blood sugar levels to spike, which can lead to high blood pressure, etc. So, if you can avoid it, especially processed sugars, I would get more of your fructose, so a source from fruits, which are nature's candy, in my opinion, and delicious. And we have some really great fruit here, and especially if you can start to eat more of it and get used to the tastes, I would recommend that. And one of my favorite things to do when I travel is to try and find some different type of fruit that I've never had before or something exotic. And I love trying new kinds of fruits. It's really one of my favorite things to do when I travel.
And talk to us about salt now. You need a certain amount of salt, especially if you're exercising a lot, you're sweating a lot. I mean, it's hot in Durban now. How do you monitor your intake of salt? Because usually something tastes a bit bland, you just chuck some salt on it, it tastes a bit better.
So I would find a good source of salt, like not that just that high iodine, really old school table salt that we all used to have on our tables once upon a time. If you can, I would get rid of that and try and get Atlantic sea salt or pink Himalayan salt. But I must say there is a difference between the two. So pink Himalayan salt is, if you need to watch your sodium intake, is the better choice because it's not high in sodium at all, but it's higher in specific trace vitamins and minerals. Whereas if you need to get more sodium, I would look at an Atlantic sea salt, which is a cleaner, purer form. And I think throughout a day, like a teaspoon amount is kind of what's recommended. But again, that's probably more for the athlete kind of goal, is to try and reach that amount. So just a little pinch on your food at the end is probably enough. If you are heavy into training, add a little bit of salt, like a quarter teaspoon or something, into some lemon water in the beginning of the day to just start off, and especially if you did a late training session the previous day, would be a good way just to kind of reset there. Yeah, that's my take on salt.
Okay, now Stacey, you've got 4 children, and you know sweets have always been the treat. How do you work around that now? You know that sugar is so carcinogenic. Why would you be giving this to children? But we still do.
Yeah. Oh, it's such a hard one, Margaret, honestly. And especially now coming to the end of the holidays, I said to my husband yesterday, we really need to clean up our diets because we've had birthdays, and so lots of sweets and cakes and ice creams, chocolates, you know, the works. But I actually I have been saying something to my kids quite a lot recently, because obviously, like with tea, they want to put sugar in, and then they're saying, okay, well, if we can't have sugar, can we put honey in? And so often my phrase is, let's not start something that's a bad habit that we'll have to break later on. Like it's, you know, and I try and educate them along the way. I want them to be educated in why it's bad. I don't just want to say it's bad. You know, I explain reasons. I'll look up things online and explain to them why sugar is so bad for them and why salt is not necessarily good. Like we don't need to be adding it to our food, because again, I've got tweens who are wanting to be teenagers and they're seeing their dad put salt on things and they're wanting salt on things. So again, I'm like, let's not start a habit that we have to break, you know. So that's kind of always my phrase, and it's working quite well at the moment. Let's hope it carries on. Let's not have to break this, you know. Let's not start something we want to break because it's not healthy, you know. Where does it end?
Yes, absolutely. Jess, with you and little kids, I mean, you want to give them sweets as a treat, but is it a treat for you?
Yeah, I think for us, we really try and practice balance. There's no like bad food, good food. We don't want to label anything. Sweets are not banned in our house. But it's really learning the word treat, that it's not an everyday thing, that this is, and you know, my kids are a little bit younger, but my 5-year-old is starting to ask questions. They had a dietitian go to school and give a presentation on healthy versus unhealthy food. And so now everything is this healthy for me? Is this healthy for me? So I also don't want it to become like an obsession on that side. So it's really just, it's about knowing what's good for us and what's not as good for us, not banning anything, unless of course it's you're vegan and it's for different and ethical reasons. But in terms of the sugar and the salt, you know, things that don't have any real like meaning behind them, it's just trying to instill the idea of balance, and that anything in moderation is okay, and too much of anything is not okay. You know, you eat too much fruit, you're going to have a problem. You eat too many vegetables, you're going to have a problem. So yeah, that's our sort of message at home, is just everything in moderation.
Sandy, who's watching, says, what's the benefit of having hot lemon water and how many times a day? Now, I used to have hot lemon water first thing in the morning, but I found that my joints were getting a bit, you know, acidic. I've got quite an acidic body, so I just felt my body was just becoming too acidic. So I stopped having the lemon water, and I must say that I felt better. But my husband has lemon water every single morning as he wakes up. Lemon water, slows it down, feels it flushes his system out. And then
Yeah.
saying the other thing is coconut water good for you? Well, I'm a great believer in coconut water, but a lot of it is sweetened. So you've got to make sure you get the unsweetened coconut water. I have almond milk, always get the unsweetened one, oat milk unsweetened, and soya milk unsweetened, because if it's sweetened, it tastes divine, but it's just full of sugar. Damien, tell us about lemon water and the advantage or the disadvantage of taking lemon water.
Yeah. So for myself, I used to do the lemon water thing in the morning as well. Since then, I've now switched to apple cider vinegar in some water with.
You just said apple cider vinegar. Because I tried to do that to lose weight. Oh my God, no, it was so terrible. I thought I'm going to have to be fat because I just can't take the stuff.
There's other ways you can lose weight. Don't think that that's going to be the magic pill. There is no magic. So I've switched from lemon water to apple cider vinegar. Apple cider vinegar is alkalining for the body, so it's not acid forming. So it's also a little side note: if you ever have stomach cramps or indigestion, take like half a tablespoon of apple cider vinegar, mix it with half a glass of water, and get that down. In about 10-15 minutes, your stomach cramps should subside.
Oh, wow. Okay. Because my son had stomach cramps the other day and I didn't know what to give him. So apple cider vinegar. God, that tastes so terrible.
It must be quite strong, and it works for me every time.
Wow.
So yeah, that's how I start my morning. Some warm water, apple cider vinegar. I make quite a concoction. I use a bit of turmeric and I use black pepper and a little bit of ashwagandha, but that's a different topic altogether.
You can buy it ready-made in that sort of mixture. It's called liquid gold. And
Yes,
it's a lot of the health places and supermarkets at the moment. I must say that I bought it, but cheap as I battle with it.
It's that specific brand, I know which one you're talking about, is very strong.
Yeah.
But yes, so that's what I take. Lemon is just a great way, like you said about your husband, it just starts to flush out your body, right? So it's a great way to also get electrolytes in, just to kind of stabilize after a night's rest. But then, it gets your body, your metabolism starting, so that you should go to the bathroom pretty soon after that. Just flushes you out, and a good way to start your morning. But going back to what Jess was talking about just quickly, when she was talking about her kids and balance and all of that, I think if you can, on that subject, also start to talk to them about how the sugar is making them feel and how the chocolate made them feel, so they can start to make up their own minds about, I've got a stomach cramp now, maybe I shouldn't have eaten that much sweets. So start to get them to notice how they're feeling, instead of you telling them, this is how you're feeling, or whatever, or this is how you're going to be feeling. Just getting them to start to make that connection.
Yeah, wonderful. Now, Jeepers, we've got so many things. So Sandy says, can I add some honey to the apple cider vinegar? You'll have to add quite a lot of honey because it tastes really foul. But isn't it an acquired taste? I never acquired the taste. I couldn't do it for very long.
So if you are vegan, obviously you can't do the honey thing because it comes from bees. But honey itself does have lots of other benefits for your body. So if you're not completely vegan, add a bit of honey. There's nothing wrong with that. You might see some benefits from it as well.
Okay, now being vegan, I just want to say, my friend Melanie, who's really vegan. I'm almost really vegan, but even if she sees you offer her a biscuit and she thinks it's got egg in it, she won't have it. Is there sort of levels of veganism? I'll have a biscuit. I don't care if it's got a little bit of egg in it. I think that's a minuscule bit of egg in it, but I like the biscuit. I don't want to be rude and say no, thank you. So I'll just take it and I will eat it. But how important is it to be really vegan and just say, if it's got anything in it, I'm not going to do it? Because a lot of the processed stuff has got, say, an egg in it or a bit of cheese in it or something in it.
Sure. I think that's up to the person, Margaret. I think I'm quite a strict vegan and I don't deviate from that at all. And our family knows that. If they invite me around, they're not going to offer me anything that has egg or dairy in it. But if you want to go more the flexitarian route and be a bit more pliable and have a biscuit if it's offered to you because it goes against you wanting to offend that person or you don't want to offend that person, then that's okay. Like, as long as you're at peace with that and you're not then going to go home and beat yourself up about it and being like, damn, I shouldn't have eaten that. It goes against everything I believe in. Like, if you are at peace with it, then that's okay. It doesn't matter what anyone else thinks. It's what you're doing, what's good for you.
Okay, fantastic. Well, it's been a wonderful session. I can't believe we've only got 5 minutes to go. But
Really?
next week,
That was quick.
Stacey, and it was so quick, okay? Time flies when you're enjoying yourself. Stacey, we're talking about sleep. And of course, I'm right on the other scale of everybody who says you need a lot of sleep. I say you don't need a lot of sleep. People say to me, how do I become successful? I said, stop sleeping so much. Just get on and do a lot more. And if you feel you can't sleep, get up and do something, because then at least you feel you've accomplished something by not sleeping. So tell us who's talking to us about sleep.
So Karine is talking to us next week on sleep. Very exciting. We've had Karine before. She spoke about mindful eating and all of that. So yeah, she's going to take us down the sleep road, which is really exciting because I know, I mean, sleep has been a journey in my life. And if I don't, I'm the opposite to you, Margaret. If I don't have good sleep, same as you, Damien and Jess, I don't function well. So yeah, I think that for most people, I think you're in the rare category, Margaret.
Okay.
I would love to have a little bit more of what you've got, but yeah.
Yeah. So, and Jess, what do you think about sleep? Do you think you really need that 8 hours a night, or do you think you know, Tony Robbins, who was my teacher, he said you only need a human being needs 4 hours. If you sleep for 8 hours, you'll wake up as tired as you went to bed. And a lot of people do. They wake up and go, oh my God, I'm so
Tony
tired.
Robbins.
Debatable,
Tony Robbins.
Yes, yeah, he is a bit debatable, but I mean, he's been going a long time now, and he's done incredible work. And yeah, so I just to me, I only need 4 hours. I don't need more than that. In fact, I can't have more than that. I just get up. So yeah, it's going to be quite interesting. Jess, what do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, I need more than 4 hours, definitely. I think I'm starting to agree with the theories that it's more a sleep cycle than a set amount of hours. We need a certain amount of sleep cycles. And normally if you wake up in between one of those cycles, that's when you feel so groggy and tired because you've broken the cycle rather than completing the cycle. But we'll talk about that next week. I think the same sort of thing applies with the eating, the sleeping, the whatever it is. It's just being mindful of, like Damien was saying, start asking the questions about how it makes you feel. And then not only ask the questions about how it makes you feel, but then actually listen to whatever it is that your body's trying to tell you. So if you're not feeling good and you're lacking energy, start with your diet. Give it a go. If it works, great. If it doesn't, you know, sort of worse off. Move on to the sleep, move on to the next thing, but don't just stay where you are. Take a step forward.
Absolutely. Damien, thank you so much for being on the show with us today. It's been amazing. I absolutely love it. I love the subject. I love the talking. I love the eating. I love the sleeping, and I love the exercise. And it all is all interconnected, and you have to get it all right if you want to have a really fantastic, healthy body and a healthy life. So thank you so much for being our guest speaker today. We really enjoyed having you on. I'm so glad you were back by popular demand, and I wish you all the best going forward, and fantastic. And we really appreciate you giving of your time to help all of us. Thank you so much. Thank you from me and all.
Wonderful. Thanks so much. Thanks, Margaret. And remember, you can find Damien on Connectable Life.
Yes,
and start your one-on-one yoga sessions with Damien, and start today. Start today.
Someone was asking about meal plans. I don't know how they can get in contact with me, but I have a whole range of like 7-day free ones that if anyone wants, they can pop me an email and I'm happy to share with them, depending on what their goals are. So there's no cost, there's no fee, there's no catch. I'll send it to you free of charge.
We can set it up.
We want you to be healthy. We really do. So there you go, guys. It's all there for you. It's all on my Facebook page. If you ever forget, if you didn't watch this, or you know somebody who should watch this, please tell them, send it to them. We have recorded it and they can watch it anytime. Thank you, guys. I'll see you all next week.
Yes.
Thanks, Margaret.
Thank you, Margaret.
Thanks,
Damien. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.